In Afghanistan is horrific and awful and going to get much, much worse in the days, weeks, months, perhaps even to come. While that's going on, D.C. is still going to they're still going to pass bills. And we need to still pay attention to those at least a little bit. H.R. 4 is one of those. What is H.R. 4? Zach Smith is here from the Heritage Foundation. Give us the rundown. What is H.R. 4?
Yeah, so H.R. 4, it's a so-called election reform bill. It's really part of a larger push when you look at it in conjunction with other bills like H.R. 1, where essentially the Democrats in Congress are trying to take power away from state and local governments to set election rules and procedures and shift that power to the federal government in Washington, D.C. And what's particularly troubling about H.R. 4 is that it would shift that power to the federal government in Washington, but it would specifically place power over election rules and procedures in the hands of unelected bureaucrats at the Department of Justice. And unfortunately, the voting rights section of the Civil Rights Division of DOJ, which would oversee these new voting rights requirements, has a history of hiring predominantly from left-leaning advocacy organizations. So this is a very bad bill, a very dangerous bill, and one that would fundamentally shift the power between the state and the federal government.
That's amazing. I want to make sure I get this right. So it's not even just taking it from the states to the Fed, or it's not even taking it from the states to the Congress. It's taking it from the states to the Department of Justice?
Yeah, that's exactly right. It would essentially give the Department of Justice something called pre-clearance requirements. And I think it's worth noting the voting rights section of the Civil Rights Division, it's been criticized in the past for hiring the majority of its lawyers from 5 left-leaning advocacy organizations. In 2013, an Inspector General's report found that the majority of lawyers in that section had been hired from places like the ACLU, like the NAACP, like the National Council of La Raza, among others. And so, unfortunately, it seems to me that many of the lawyers in that section have not left their advocacy work on the sidelines once they join the Department of Justice, but continue it now in their official roles. And I think we can see that if we just look at the lawsuit that was recently filed in Georgia.
And we're going to have the same unaccountability like we have out of the CDC, right? Where you can't, let's say they have a bad regulation about voting, and we can't hold them accountable. They're not elected. We can't unelect them. We can't get them out. That's terrible. We got 60 seconds. What does it specifically say about voter ID? Anything, or do we just know how these people are going to do it?
Well, it would essentially, if states try to enact changes to their rules and procedures, like implementing voter ID, it could potentially subject them to this pre-clearance requirement and subject states to very time-consuming and expensive litigation, which just isn't needed right now.
Wow. That was deep and insightful. I want more of that. Like, subscribe, get more.